Hi everyone, it's me, Krista. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If not, welcome for the very first time to my little art corner here on YouTube. Today we are going to be doing Inktober prompt number 4, which happens to be Blade. I immediately thought of the Blade from the Marvel comics and the movies, so that's what I am doing today. I immediately decided that I wanted there to be anger in the face. I wanted his mouth open, fangs bared. I wanted you to be able to look at him and be able to tell that he is a vampire. I didn't want him to look like Wesley Snipes' Blade, but I did take some elements of that, such as the mustache instead of the goatee, for instance. I'm going to be using markers to do this one, and because of that, I'm using Bristol board, specifically Strathmore Bristol board, 400 series, and it is another small one, 4x6. I'm doing smaller pieces so that I'm not completely overwhelmed by the prospect of doing 31 drawings in a fairly short period of time. I do end up spending a lot more time on this one than I initially had planned. I went back and forth a lot about this one, about redoing it. I was just in one of those headspaces where it seemed like nothing I was doing was like good enough in that moment in time. I think as artists we've all kind of been there, where there's just specific times where we think nothing we're doing is good, everything we're doing is sucking, and we're completely messing up the entire thing the entire time. That's how I felt here. At this point, I have my sketch in already. I'm just using a regular BIC Mechanical Pencil to get that done. Initially, I was going to outline it using a Pentel hybrid Technica pen in 0.3. That wasn't working very well for me, so I switched over to an Alvin liner I have. I think that one's also 0.3. I was really excited about doing this one because, like I said before, I loved the movies, I loved the character as a comic book character, and just in general, I love the idea of a vampire hunting other vampires. I think it's pretty cool, and Blade's pretty badass, let's all be real about it. I also chose this because I wanted to challenge myself a little bit. A lot of the time I paint or draw very feminine looking people, whether they be male or female, they present very feminine. Usually when I draw men, they're typically drag queens. So I wanted to pick something that felt very ultra traditionally masculine and stick with those heavy lines and go that way. Also, I don't normally draw glasses, and I wanted to challenge myself to do the sunglasses as well. At this point in the drawing, I already have my lines down. I laid down a light gray color, and I am pulling in some other grays in order to build some shading around it. The grays I'm using are some Marabu markers. They're specifically the sketch marker Graphix ones, and they are the ones that came in the Alpha robot set. I got these in a Palette Full Packs box a couple of months ago, and so far for Inktober, they've been pretty nice for getting some tonal shading going on in black and white. And I'm starting from the lightest to the darkest with it. I'm also pulling in a white Pitt pen with a bullet nib, just a Faber-Castell one, to help pull some highlights back in. At this point, I'm just slowly building up all of my shading using those markers, going back and forth. I'm leaning towards the warm grays a little bit more and using some of the lighter cool grays in order to help blend it out. I also pull in the deepest cool gray, but layer some of the warm gray over it. I'm trying to keep the tones fairly similar warmth-wise in this one. Then I pull in a black marker to cover the area that the hair is going. I then pull in a fine-tipped pen, which is my hybrid Technica one, the Pentel one, to create some loose texturing towards the edges. And I also use my Faber-Castell white Pitt pen to do some dotting in the hair at this point. I want there to be an insinuation of the texture that this kind of hair type would naturally have. I then start filling in the sunglasses and getting some more layers in on the face. I work my way down to the neck, again starting with the lightest gray and building up the other grays on top. As I'm so apt to do, I jump back and forth throughout this entire drawing pretty much the whole time. I'm not very good at just working on a specific point of a drawing until it's done. I tend to kind of move around my canvas a little bit and layer as I go. In some ways this can be good because it forces you to look at the whole thing versus just a tiny section. It does make explaining the process a little bit more difficult. Then I start getting my base layers in on the clothing that we have going on. It's basically a leather jacket and then some other stuff on underneath. Typical Blade wear. For the background, I have layered a couple of different grays at separate times, as you have seen throughout the drawings, gradually deepening up every time. Around this point, I realized that the hairline looks a little off for me, so I go about trying to fix it with what I already have down. To attempt to do that, I start using the white media that I already have here, which is a Faber-Castell Pitt pen and the white gel pen that we have so far. I go back and forth between that and the other markers a couple of times, but it just wasn't quite working out. I even pulled in a paper towel because my colors were starting to blend together. The black of the hairline was apparently still a little damp, so it was bleeding into what I had here. I kind of wish I wouldn't have messed with the hairline more at this point, honestly, because I liked how the blend of the marker was looking before I started getting this finicky with it. At this point, I decided the whites I was trying to use weren't opaque enough to lift it back quite as well, so I pulled in a white water-based Sharpie. This is basically an acrylic marker. It's pretty opaque, and I can blend it out with my finger with the grays I already have to attempt to get a smoother blend going on. My blend's never quite as smooth as it was before this, though. I continue jumping back and forth between the hairline and the skin and lightening it up and darkening it pretty much for the rest of this drawing. It's just what I was doing here. I also pulled a little bit more texture into the hair itself and messed around with the edges again, once again just trying to get that textured look that I wanted. I also end up bringing in some darker lines and shading into the face itself as well. I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I liked how smooth and pretty the blends looked before, but on the other hand, I do like how the deep dark lines look on this specific drawing. It helps give the effect that he is angry more so than pained. I layered a lot of marker at that point. That's why I pulled in the hairdryer, because it was just sitting on top of that paper for a minute. I wanted to help it dry out more quickly. At this point, I think I thought it was looking a little too dark, so I started pulling in some more highlights. This is something I do a lot, where I jump back and forth. I'll start lightening it or darkening it, and then switching it up until it looks satisfactory to me. I also use that Faber-Castell Pitt pen in white to pull the face out from the background. I go along certain edges with the white in order to help make them stand out a little more from that background. There are a couple of smaller projects I've been doing lately, specifically with Inktober, where I want to revisit them in a larger project later. I definitely feel like this is one I want to revisit on a bigger piece of paper. I want to be able to explore the blends, make them nice and smooth, and get all of the shading and detailing in that I wanted to have. And we're again just repeating the process of lightening up, darkening up, and then lightening back up again. I do end up pulling in the white gel pen to create some really nice crisp white lines, once again to help define them from the background and just bring out some bright white highlights. It's only day 5 of Inktober and I already feel like I'm losing my mind doing projects. Hopefully for tomorrow's I don't feel as stuck in my head and that I feel more confident about the result as I'm working on it. I feel that it looks fine now that I'm narrating it afterwards, but I still feel like it could look better. And I feel like that is the curse of any artist. We always want it to look better than it does. But with that, this project, therefore this video, is pretty much done. If you liked it, please hit that like button. If you have any comments, questions, feelings, concerns, or you just want to roast me, let me know all about that in that comment section down below. I look forward to hearing from you. If you want to see more videos like this, please feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be doing Inktober videos once a day for every day of October. We still got plenty to go, so please subscribe if you want to see more of them. As always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day or night to watch this video, listen to me preamble. I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from you guys soon, and you will definitely be hearing from me soon. Bye, everybody!